Hey, it's Jen Gleason Blue of the Resilient Body, and I want to talk about some misconceptions or misunderstandings about movement just for a few minutes. So I had this amazing doctor's appointment today, and if you've been following my story at all, then you know that I've had recurrent miscarriages. I've had 2 in the last 2 years, and 2.5 years, and I've had like chronic digestive stuff, so primarily abdominal distension. So I'll get, sort of pregnant looking, and I have some accompanying things like fatigue, and so my hormones have been out of balance, and like I'm not digesting fully well, and I'm losing pregnancies. So it's been really, anytime I think if you've had chronic health stuff, then you know how just it's a big deal. It's a big deal. And so I found this amazing doctor today. I didn't find her today, but I had an appointment with her. My insurance covers her, and so like all of these tests that I want done, like they're affordable because she's writing a script, so the insurance covers it. And but I had these reflections as it relates to movement, as it relates to kind of the conversations that we're having here in this space, and I wanted to share those with you. And I even have notes, very unusual for me. So here's one of the things that really struck out to me, is that no single thing, you with your stuff, no single thing will fix you. I used to feel like if I could just get X, Y, or Z, but one of those, then my problems would resolve, right? Like it's just diet, or it's just hormones, or it's too high carb or too low carb, or it's just emotional, it's not physical, it's just physical, it's not emotional. And so I could kind of break things down into components, thinking that I could resolve my issues. And I see my clients do this, and I see my students do this sometimes, where it's like, it's just the movement. Like if I can just figure out the movement, then, and how I'm tucking my pelvis or not tucking my pelvis, whatever it is, that then my prolapse will go away, or then my knees will stop hurting, or then I'll have better upper body strength. And my experience over and over in my own life, in my healing journey, in work with clients and students, is that the approach needs to be many layered, and that for almost all of us, when we have some of these bigger things, it's going to take a variety of support and different modalities. And that's the great thing, is there are so many modalities out there, right? And so I was really struck by that when this doctor, who's like a Western doctor, who is an integrative functional doctor, so she's like prescribing homeopathy, and she's also like pulling diagnostics, and she kind of works the whole, she does it all, which is so cool to have somebody, at least in my part of the world, who does that, who's covered by my insurance. And one of the things that she did was write down no fewer than 4 names of people that she thinks it's worth me consulting with. And not all at once, but like that these are other things that need tending to that are outside her full scope. And so when you're thinking about, and often when I talk with people about the movement stuff, like especially, and this seems to happen a lot for me with like prolapse. So people have prolapse, and I'll be like, can you deal with this? And it's like, yes, I can deal with this. And I'm going to suggest these other 5 things, and I'm not going to hold the movement work above them. Unfortunately, what happens in our world is that we often it's the movement piece that's so often missing. It's like how you move every day. We just kind of ignore that piece about our bodies, and yet we need to address that. And but it's like, so I have these movement makeovers that I'm offering right now, and it's like these 3.5-hour sessions, and one of the things I'm saying is like, at the end of that session, you're coming away with other modalities and other people that you need to explore this stuff with, because our movement patterns are informed by so many other aspects. So no single thing is going to fix you. But this idea of other aspects brings me to my second point, which is, I'm trying to think of how I phrased it here, but that your emotions, your thoughts, your beliefs, like your sort of, that reality for you, it's essential. Like it has to be dealt with. Like when you think about what has created your ailments and what the resolution is going to be, that piece, like, man, like I can't even, I'm like, I blessed those of you who are looking at your whole self like it, and I celebrate it because I know what a difference it makes, not just in the healing of your body, but in the way your body can move through the world, expressing your spirit, your kind of vital life force. And I feel like if you're interested in a much deeper level of healing, that it's incredibly essential to address that part. And so today, I'm pretty open about a lot of things, right? So I've had a really stressful 5 years in my life. 3 years ago, and I've been dealing with digestive issues for 3 years, maybe a little bit longer. My mother died 3 years ago. I've had these 2 miscarriages. I've had other various high intensity stressors that I've faced, and yet so there's imbalance, right? I have this hormonal imbalance. I have digestive imbalance, and we can treat those things physically, right? And I can do movement as it connects to that. I have supplements that I take. I get body work done, structural sort of stuff. And yet, like, so I'm talking with my doctor, and the first thing she says is like, okay, so you have PTSD, and we need to address that. Like, your energetic reality is the biggest thing that needs to be addressed if you want to heal your digestive tract, if you want to get and stay pregnant. She said, why would your body get pregnant and hold a pregnancy when your experience of pregnancy is like to end up in a traumatic birth that resurrects memories of childhood sexual abuse, like, and unleashes this world of pain. It's been a great entry into healing, an incredible, to have carried this the rest of my life, would have been awful. So I'm grateful for the healing work, but I'm only healing because there's been pain. And she was so all over that. She was just all over the fact that this energetic piece is essential if what I really want is to heal. And it, this is I have a course called Heart Body Method, and that's like such a huge component of that work is looking at the whole self. Because we have this idea, this misconception that we don't need to bring the whole self into this conversation about movement, into this conversation about how our bodies are working or not working. And it's my firm belief that if you really want to restore movement in your life, if you really want to heal, that exploring that realm as well is essential. So the third thing, this is another big one that people, I think, kind of, it's slippery. If you want, how do I put this? No, I'm going to start over. You need to keep moving, right? Like, we're clear on that. I'm a movement teacher. We're always talking about movement. You need to keep moving, but movement sometimes looks like stillness, looks like waiting, looks like doing nothing, looks like resting. It is not always this all hands on deck, full force ahead. I'm sort of connecting all of this, if you can't tell, to my doctor's appointment. I had to wait like 4 months for this appointment. And even when I made the appointment, I was like, I won't need the appointment at that point. Like, I'm gonna be done. I'll be pregnant, or I'll be ready to be pregnant, or, you know, my belly's gonna be all better. And so I made the appointment anyway because I'd heard good things about this doctor. And I was just reflecting today that, like, it's not that I haven't done anything in the intervening months, because I have. I've go to acupuncture, and I've worked with my naturopath, and I've done other kinds of body work, but there's this way that we sometimes have to concede that, so there are two pieces to this. One is that we sometimes just have to take a break and look around, and we have to wait on answers to arise, wait on information to come, and that in a way is its own sort of movement forward. So we're thinking here about movement to change. And in order to do that, we sometimes need to stop. And that could be meditation, that could be just going about your life, not obsessing about your health issues. That could be doing like psoas work, you know, these sort of more restful, less active sorts of movements, just to get more embodied. So that gets a little bit into the heart-body stuff, but that is its own kind of movement forward. To not move, to be still, to be restful. And I think it's really easy to feel like we just need to be all the time moving forward. You know, so my other course that I just created a few months ago, or just started in August, is Restore Your Wild. And we spend the first month on rest. The whole month is rest. So, you know, as I was sort of planning out the course calendar, it was like, well, I remember having this conversation with my husband. I was like, everybody's going to want to get started with something really, it's called Restore Your Wild. Like, they're going to want to feel like we got to get in the woods, or we got to like work our bodies really hard. And it's like, well, to restore your wild, we got to start with rest. And so like I really had to like take my own advice. Like, it was like, whatever people want, I'm going to give them what they need anyway. We're going to start with rest. And that's its own form of restoring your wild. That's its own form of moving toward change, even though it doesn't look the way our culture says movement should look. The other thing I want to add, the last one, is this sort of working at the edge of your comfort zone. So we sometimes have this idea that we either can fully stay in our comfort zone, or we need to fully leave our comfort zone in order to get better. And I think sometimes that's the case. Sometimes. But I find that working right at the edge yields us the most results. So whether that's lengthening through your pecs, working at the actual end range of motion here, or whether that's the practitioners you see, for me, I have grown really accustomed to working with a variety of practitioners who are they're sort of like, they have some mainstream qualities and some alternative qualities. And I've gotten really, I have some resistance to working with people who do that and have that within the kind of Western medical model. And I hadn't even realized this at first until I was encountering some of my resistance to making appointments. So, but one of the things that I've learned is that it's kind of finding my edge with that. In this case, seeing a doctor who is in the system, but holds a much broader picture than most people in the system. And that's kind of my edge. Both the things that she was prescribing me, particular things to take, and it was that's a little outside my edge. And the fact that it was at the university hospital where my mother died of brain cancer, that's also at my edge. I don't particularly want to be coming down to the hospital, and so often I find that it's at that place where we need to go, just outside our comfort zone or just inside our comfort zone, and we're gonna make more progress instead of trying to just stay totally safe or just go crazy outside. And so there's sort of some balance there, and it's like with movement. I mean, really, like, and this is what I teach in my 4-week course, Launch Your Resilient Life. It's like you can do a calf stretch that is really, we'll call it deep, right? Like this kind of classic runner's lunge, but that isn't that's not more useful than a calf stretch that mines some alignment parameters and in which you feel nothing. So we think we need to go into some crazy far place, or we think we need to do nothing, and usually it's at the edge. It's at our end range of motion, whether that's psychological, physical, emotional, whatever. All right. So that's all I want to share on that. Some of these ways that we can think about movement differently, think about how we are going to change as a result of movement, and I hope that is useful to you. I have a full live webcast happening on this, so you can look for the link. I don't know how to, so my website's The Resilient Body, and I'll probably put it up there, theresilientbody.com, but I'll post the link below this, and you can register for that if you want. I would love to have you there if you're really ready to go deep and look at what's in, it's called Move to Change. So like, how are you wanting to change? How is movement supporting that, not supporting that? Where is your movement taking you? And how can you best respond to that and meet that and not resist it in the million ways that I personally like to resist it. So I'll offer my thoughts on that too. All right. Happy moving.